The mining colony of Terravex 7 had seen its share of oddities, but nothing quite prepared the workers for what Dale Riker brought back from Sector 12 that frigid morning. 3 small creatures huddled in his jacket, barely the size of house cats, their obsidian scales gleaming with an iridescent sheen that marked them unmistakably as Vexlar cubs, apex predators, the same species that had decimated the Kryn settlements on 4 different worlds. The same species whose adults stood 12 feet tall with claws that could shear through starship hull plating. Are you insane? Chief Engineer Halverson backed away, his face draining of color. Those things are orphans, Dale interrupted, his weathered face set in that stubborn expression his crew knew too well. Their mother was caught in the rock slide. Been dead 3 days by the look of it. The largest cub, the only one with markings, a silver streak running down its spine, hissed weakly. Its eyes, too intelligent for something so young, fixed on Dale with what might have been recognition. Or hunger. No one could quite tell. The Galactic Council's directive was clear. Vexlar were to be exterminated on sight. Too dangerous, too aggressive, too other. But Dale Riker had never been one for following directives that didn't sit right with his conscience. I'm keeping them, he announced to the stunned crew. Anyone has a problem with that can take it up with me personally. No one did. Dale Riker wasn't just their foreman. He was the man who'd talked down an armed rebellion, who'd negotiated with Kryn pirates, who'd once carried a wounded crew member 15 miles through a toxic atmosphere. If Dale Riker said he was keeping death incarnate as pets, well, the crew would just have to adjust. The colony's xenobiologist, Dr. Yara, arrived within the hour, her scanner already whirring. Foreman, you do realize these cubs will grow to over 3,000 pounds each? Their bite force alone will be impressive, Dale agreed, bottle feeding the smallest cub a mixture Yara had synthesized. Teach me what they need. What they needed, as it turned out, was what any youngster needed. Food, warmth, and someone who gave a damn. The crew watched in fascination and horror as the cubs grew. Within 3 months, they were the size of large dogs. Within 6, they towered over most humans. The silver-striped one, whom Dale had named Korthal in the cub's native tongue, First Lieutenant, appointed himself guardian of the foreman's quarters. It's unnatural, muttered some of the newer workers. Humans don't domesticate apex predators, but Dale Riker wasn't domesticating anything. He was raising them, teaching them. When Korthal's instincts urged him to hunt the smaller crew members, Dale firmly redirected that energy to mining equipment that needed dismantling. When the cubs' natural aggression flared during feeding time, Dale taught them patience and sharing. You're making them soft, observed Commander Thex, the Kryn military liaison, during an inspection. His mandibles clicked with disapproval. Vexlar are meant to be killers. Dale looked up from where he sat, Korthal's massive head resting on his lap while he checked the young Vexlar's teeth for damage. They're meant to be whatever they choose to be. Same as any sentient being. They're not sentient. The Council, Dale interrupted quietly, never bothered to ask them. The incident that changed everything happened on a standard mining run. Sector 9 had looked stable, but underground water had compromised the structural integrity. The collapse was instantaneous, 12 workers trapped, including Dale Riker. The rescue crews arrived to find Korthal and his siblings already digging, their massive claws moving tons of rubble with terrifying efficiency. When the Kryn security team raised weapons, Korthal didn't attack. Instead, he positioned himself between them and the collapse site, his body language clear. Help or leave, but do not interfere. They're coordinating, Dr. Yara breathed, watching through the drone feeds. Look at their pattern. That's not instinct, that's strategy. 8 hours later, all 12 workers emerged alive. Dale Riker came out last, carried gently in Korthal's jaws, unconscious but breathing. The great Vexlar laid his human father down with the care one might handle Crystal, and stood watch over him until the medical team arrived. Commander Thex filed his report that night. 3 days later, the Galactic Council at an emergency session. The years that followed saw a revolution in interspecies relations. Korthal, now fully grown and magnificent, became the first Vexlar to address the Council. His siblings followed. The extermination directive was rescinded. Rehabilitation programs began. Treaties were signed. But on Terravex 7, life continued much as it always had. Dale Riker, now graying and moving a bit slower, still worked his mining operation. And every evening, without fail, Korthal waited at the habitat entrance, his massive form visible from across the colony. New workers sometimes asked why. Why had Dale risked everything for creatures everyone else feared? The veteran crew members would just smile and point to where the old foreman sat, dwarfed by the apex predator whose head rested on his shoulder, and say, because Dale Riker has never been able to walk past something that needed help. Human thing, apparently. And in the quiet of the evening, if you listened closely, you could hear something that sounded remarkably like purring. A sound no one had ever heard a Vexlar make before. A sound that meant home. A sound that meant family. Some bonds. It turned out transcended species. All it took was one stubborn human who refused to see monsters where others saw only teeth and claws. Who saw, instead, children in need of a father. And to this day, no one who serves on Terravex 7 walks alone in the dark. Korthal and his siblings made sure of that. Because Dale Riker had taught them something the galaxy had never imagined an apex predator could learn. He taught them love.